60 years old, by myself, not a dime to my name. Now what? Yeah, that right there. That's the question that kept me up every single night for months. And honestly, I didn't have a clean answer. I didn't have some brilliant plan sitting in my back pocket. I had nothing. And I mean that in the most literal way you can possibly imagine. See, about 4 years back, maybe a little over 3.5, my whole entire world just fell apart. Not piece by piece, all at once. Like the floor just opened up underneath me and I went straight down. I had a house, I had a life, I had a woman I loved more than I ever knew how to say out loud. And then one day she was just gone. Car accident. That's all it was. One afternoon, one ordinary Tuesday, and she never came home. And I know a lot of you watching this right now know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of you have lost somebody too. And you know there's no way to prepare for that. No way. Doesn't matter how old you are, how long you've been married, how many hard things you've already been through. When that person leaves, something in your chest just goes quiet. And it stays quiet for a long time. But here's the thing, life doesn't stop billing you just because your heart is broken. I lost my wife. Then not long after that, cancer took my parents, one after the other. And all of a sudden I'm sitting in this big house by myself and every single room in it is full of somebody I'm never going to see again. That's a particular kind of pain, man. That's a weight that just sits right on top of you and doesn't let you breathe. And then the numbers started talking. And what they were saying wasn't good. Property taxes went up. Every year, up. Utilities, up. Maintenance on that house, up. My income didn't move an inch, stayed exactly where it was. And one evening I sat down at the kitchen table with a stack of bills and a cup of coffee that went cold before I could even drink it. And I just looked at that pile and thought, the math here does not work. This does not add up. I cannot keep doing this. So what did I do at first? Absolutely nothing. I wallowed. And I'm not ashamed to say that. I sat in my own misery for a good while. I kept telling myself I failed, that I should have been better prepared, that a real man would have figured it out by now. I beat myself up every single day. Felt like I let everybody down, even the people who were already gone. But eventually, something shifted. I can't tell you exactly when. There wasn't some big dramatic moment where the clouds parted and the answer came to me. It was more like, I just got tired of hurting and tired of standing still. And I told myself, you gotta move. You gotta do something, right or wrong, smart or stupid. You gotta do something. And the only asset I had left, the only real thing of value I still owned, was the house. So I put it up for sale. Now that sounds simple when I say it like that. It was not simple. It took me over a year to get that thing sold. I went through 2 different real estate agents, 2 of them. A lot of waiting, a lot of paperwork, a lot of strangers walking through rooms that held every memory I had left. That part was hard. Having people come through and look at the walls like it was just some piece of property. It wasn't just a house to me. It was the last place I'd lived with her. But during that whole year of waiting for it to sell, something else started happening. I started looking around at everything I owned. And let me tell you, I had a full house, a completely full house. My sister had passed away too, from carbon monoxide poisoning, and her things were still there. My mother's things, my father's things, my brother-in-law's stuff, even some of my wife's belongings. It wasn't just my life I was sifting through. It was everybody's, every person I had ever loved. Their whole lives just sitting there in boxes and closets and shelves, waiting. The garage alone, full of tools, equipment, multiple vehicles, all of it just staring at me like a mountain I had no idea how to climb. And I remember standing in the middle of the garage one morning, real early, before the sun came up all the way, just looking at all of it. And I thought, what in the world am I going to do with all this? There was only one answer that made any sense to me. Inventory everything, get organized, and sell it. All of it, down to the bare walls. Because I had this theory, and it was a real simple theory. If you want to build something new, you need something to build with. You need at least a little bit of money to start over. And the only way I was going to get that money was to let go of everything I was holding on to. So that's what I did. I sold the furniture. I sold the little bit of artwork on the walls. I sold my stamp collection, which I'd spent years putting together. I sold tools I'd had for decades, things I bought with my own two hands, back when life looked completely different. Things that had stories attached to them. I sold all of it. And every time I carried something out to a buyer or loaded up another truck, there was this little voice in the back of my head saying, "You shouldn't be doing this. You're going to regret this. This is wrong." But I kept going anyway, because the other voice, the louder one, kept saying, "You have no choice." By the time that house sold, and I sat down with my pencil and paper to figure out where all the money was going, I went right down the list. Every single debt, every person I owed anything to, I paid them all off, every last one of them. And when I got done with all that, when the dust settled and I looked at what was left, it wasn't a whole lot. I had just enough to buy an old box truck and just enough to buy an old camper. And that was pretty much it. That was the end of the money. So now I've got a camper, a pickup truck, a box truck full of whatever I couldn't sell or couldn't bring myself to get rid of yet, and no house to go back to. I thought about renting a storage unit, $200 a month or whatever they were charging. But I couldn't do it. At that point, every single dollar mattered, in a way it never had before. So I kept the box truck instead. It became my storage unit. Didn't cost me a monthly fee. Just sat there and held the last remnants of the life I used to have. Now here's where things got real uncertain, because the house is gone, the savings are gone, the debt is paid off, but there's almost nothing left. And I'm standing there thinking, okay, where do I actually go? And right then, at exactly the right moment, a friend of mine called me up. He said he had a piece of property out in the country, said nobody was using it, said he needed somebody to just keep an eye on it, take care of it a little bit, make sure everything was all right. And he offered to let me stay there, no rent, just look after the land. I want you to understand what that phone call meant to me, because at that point, the question I was losing sleep over every single night was, where am I going to go? And suddenly, I had an answer. It wasn't a perfect answer, but it was an answer. So I took him up on it. I drove out there with my little camper, got it set up, and that was that. No running water, no power hooked up, nothing fancy, nothing comfortable really. Just a place to park and a piece of ground to stand on. And I made it work. It took time. It took a lot of figuring things out the hard way. But I turned it into the little setup you've probably seen in some of my earlier videos on this channel. But here's the part I want you to really hear, because getting there was one thing. Living with it was something else entirely. After I got settled in, after the dust kind of settled, and there was nothing left to do but sit with myself, the misery came back, and it hit hard. I kept thinking, I failed. I had a house. I had a life. I had everything a man my age was supposed to have. And I lost all of it. I sat there in that camper night after night, telling myself I made one huge mistake after another, and that this was where I ended up because I wasn't good enough. 2 more years of that. 2 more years of carrying all that weight around before I finally started to see things differently. And if you've watched any of my older videos, you could probably see it on my face. I was a wreck, guys, an honest-to-goodness mess. I didn't know what I was doing, not even a little bit. Every single thing I tried was trial and error. I just kept throwing things at the wall and seeing what stuck because that's all I could do. The only real goal I had was to stop the bleeding, stop the financial damage from getting any worse. Because when you are living on $1,100 a month from Social Security disability, you don't have any room to make mistakes. You don't have any cushion. You don't have any margin for error at all. So I got really serious about where every dollar went. I started separating out what I actually needed from what I just wanted. And let me tell you, there's a bigger gap between those two things than most people realize, because we spend our whole lives mixing them together, telling ourselves the things we want are things we need. And when you're forced to be honest about it, when you literally cannot afford to lie to yourself anymore, it changes how you see everything. I stopped eating out almost completely. I stopped making unnecessary trips into town. I relearned how to cook for myself, real simple stuff, nothing fancy. I took care of my animals the best I could. And everything else? I cut it out. Was I miserable? Some days, yeah, especially in winter, sitting there thinking about what I could be doing, what other people my age were doing, where I thought I'd be by now. That kind of thinking will eat you alive if you let it. But here's the thing I didn't realize until much later. All that cutting back, all that discipline, all that doing without, it was actually working. I was building something, slowly, quietly, $1 at a time. I just couldn't see it yet because I was too busy being hard on myself. Then I started putting up videos on YouTube, and at first, I want to be real honest with you, it wasn't some smart business decision. It wasn't some calculated move to build an audience. It was just me yelling into empty space, just needing somewhere to put all the stuff I was feeling because there was nobody to talk to. I was alone out there, and I had all this stuff building up inside, and I needed some way to let it out. I felt like a failure. I felt like everything I'd worked for my whole life had counted for nothing. I felt embarrassed. I felt scared. And every time I turned that camera on, I was just a guy in a camper somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, trying to figure out how to still be a person. But then something happened that I didn't see coming. People started showing up, and not just watching, actually showing up, commenting, sharing their own stories, saying, "Hey man, I'm going through something similar." Or, "You just said exactly what I've been feeling and didn't know how to put into words," or just, "You're not alone out there." And slowly, something started to shift in me. The more people showed up, the more I started to feel like maybe what I was going through wasn't just a failure story. Maybe it was something else. Maybe it was proof that you can still keep going, even when everything is gone. Maybe it was something worth sharing. This community, the people who watched and commented and stuck around through all my rough patches, you guys lifted me up more than I can properly say. You helped me start to see my own situation differently. You helped me figure out what I actually wanted to do with whatever time I had left. And for that, I'm genuinely grateful, from the bottom of whatever I've got left in here. So here's where things stand now, 3.5 years out from the bottom of all this. 3.5 years of living small and spending almost nothing, and quietly, stubbornly, saving a $100 bill every single month. Now I know what you're thinking. $100 a month? That's not much. No, it's not. You're right about that. But it was something, and something is everything when you've come from nothing. Every single one of those $100 bills meant I had gone another 30 days without giving up. Another month of choosing the future over the right now. Another month of betting on myself even when I wasn't sure I was worth betting on. And now, because of those months and those dollars stacked up one on top of the other, I'm about to move onto my own piece of property, my own land. In about a month from now, 3.5 years, to get from losing everything to having something to stand on again. That might sound like a long time, but standing here on this side of it, it feels like the most important 3.5 years of my life, because I didn't just survive them, I grew through them, got a little harder, got a little quieter in a good way, got a whole lot clearer about what actually matters and what never did. And here's what I want to say to you, the person watching this right now who's in the middle of something like what I went through. You cannot carry the old life into the new one. It doesn't work that way. I know that's hard to hear. I know you've got things with meaning attached to them. Family stuff, memories tied to furniture and tools and collections built up over a lifetime. I had all of that too, and I had to let go of every bit of it. Not because it didn't matter, but because I couldn't move forward while I was standing still holding on to the past. People box everything up and throw it in a storage unit thinking they'll deal with it later. That storage unit becomes an anchor. You're paying for it every month. You're emotionally attached to what's inside it. And it keeps one foot of yours rooted in a life that's already over. When I say radical change, I mean it exactly the way it sounds. Clothes on your back, food, water, a roof over your head, even if that roof is a camper shell. That's it, you strip it all the way down. And from that bare floor, you start building back up. Cut the trips to town, cut the restaurant meals, learn to cook again, stop spending on things that feel good for an hour and cost you a week of progress. Learn the difference between what you actually need and what you've just convinced yourself you can't live without. Is this going to work the same way for everybody? Probably not. I won't sit here and tell you my road is the only road. But it was my road, and it worked. Not perfectly, not easily, but it worked. And if you're sitting where I was sitting 4 years ago, feeling lost and broke and completely alone and wondering what in the world your next step is supposed to be, don't wait. That's the one thing I'll say louder than everything else. Do not wait. Because the longer you sit in a situation that isn't working, the deeper the hole gets. The harder the climb back becomes. And there comes a point where you might not have enough options left to make the climb at all. If you still have choices right now, use them. Move while you can still move. Act while you still have something to act with. There are no clean answers when you're going through this. No simple 10-step plan somebody can hand you. When you're older, alone, no partner, half the income you used to count on, it's just hard. Some months it's really, really hard, but hard doesn't mean impossible, and done doesn't mean over. I didn't feel good for a long time. I'm not going to pretend I did. But right now, today, I feel good. I sleep at night. I don't dread what might be in the mailbox. I don't wake up in a panic over the bills. Things aren't perfect. They're probably never going to be perfect. But they're mine, and they're moving forward. That's enough for me. So if you're in it right now, in the thick of it, feeling like you're buried under something you're never going to dig out of, just know that this old guy out here in a camper with $100 saved every month and a whole lot of lost years behind him figured out a way through. You changed the way you think. You changed the way you move through your days. You let go of what was, even when it hurts to do it, especially when it hurts to do it. And you keep your eyes on what could still be, even when you can't quite see it yet. That's it. That's the whole thing. I've shed the old skin, and it took everything I had to do it. But the new skin is growing in, and in about a month, I'll have a piece of ground underneath my feet that belongs to me. 3.5 years, worth every single hard day. Think it through before you start. Make a plan, even if it's a rough one. Be ready for the ride, because it's going to take you up and it's going to take you down, and it's going to ask more of you than you think you have left. But if you can let go of what was, if you can open your hands and really let it go, you just might be surprised what finds its way into them. I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for being here, guys. Every single one of you. You matter more to me than you probably know. And until we talk again, let's keep rising.